Hey! Welcome to another very energetic live of your favorite sport intellects. Today we have Abel and Jaren with us. And
Hey
yes,
guys.
welcome,
Hey
guys,
everyone.
welcome.
Hey.
Yes, what a game it was last night. As we know, Gujarat versus Punjab. Rahul Tagati. Cut. Did I
There's no
fade into
cut. This is go. It's live.
It's live. There's
Rahul
no cut.
Tewatia.
Who is watching this?
There are people watching it, so that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's
So
all right.
Rahul
It's all
Tewatia. It's
right.
okay. Keep going.
Yeah, so Rahul, again, he did it against Punjab. 2 balls, 12 runs to win, and he did it. Your initial thoughts on it, gentlemen?
Jen, you can start off.
Well, I think as sport intellect, we are having a little bit of a hitch, when it comes to Rahul Tewatia. We had Sanjit yesterday. Thankfully, once again, he isn't here. I think this is something that happens when Sanjit's predictions go wrong. The next day, he doesn't turn up.
Yep.
But, 2 balls, 2 sixes. I mean, you can argue that Odin Smith could have bowled better. He was bowling lengths after all, but you can't take anything away from him. It's not easy coming in 12 runs to win. That's the maximum effort that a batsman needs when you have to come in. And he just finished the game for them. And he just came in and he's just like what we saw with Ayush Badoni, probably a little bit more tougher. He just came in and he said, what's the rush? What's the problem, guys? This is how you do it.
Yeah.
And he just finished the game. And I just walked off. And that was so great to see because someone like Miller was struggling on the other end, who's done it time and time again. And that shows that Rahul Tewatia has a character which is made of steel. And this is going to be something interesting for Gujarat Titans because everything's clicking for them at this point.
Yeah, speaking about the awareness part of it, which is very important when it comes to this type of matches, do you think that Orange Smiths overthrew and then there was a lack of communication and awareness between the match players? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I thought there were two moments in that game. One was Odain Smith run out. Another one was Shah Rukh Khan where he got out. While Rashid Khan was bowling his last two balls of the spell, he could have possibly seen him off. But there, what he did was try to take a risk in that particular over when Liam Livingston was out. He tried to play that slog sweep out to Rashid Khan and he got out. Such is game awareness. In T20 cricket, it's about game of margins, as we speak again and again. And yesterday's overthrow, it was 13 runs required of 3 balls, and he got the ball in the hand and he overthrew. And it was absolutely, there was no need for that. He could have got a dot ball and 13 runs of 2 balls. What could have happened was it could have been a super over. It could have been a tie, even if Miller hits him for 2 shots. And Miller did not look apart at all. He was struggling to connect the ball. And that's where you need experience. That's where I felt O'Dane Smith's lack of experience came into the fore. And it happens. It happens in the heat of the moment. But then if it was an experienced bowler with the likes of Bumrah, with the likes of possibly even you could say Rabada wouldn't have done it. But yesterday, what you saw from O'Dane Smith was schoolboy level stuff, and it possibly cost him the game as well. And talking about that innings which Rahul Tewatia played, even if it is a full toss, which is being balled to Rahul Tewatia, to hit 2 sixes of the last 2 balls, you need nerves of steel. It is not easy to hit 2 balls out of the park because if you have played cricket at any level, to clear the rope, even under pressure, you need such mental ability. And this lad has done it now for the fifth time for his particular team and second time against Punjab. And Punjab will be dreadful to see his face ever again. And that's something about this guy. He's got that talent in him. He's got that that ability to change the game time and time again. You don't see that from a lot of players across the world. And if you talk about some of the best finishers of the game, they have struggled to do this time and time again. But this lad has done it when it matters the most. Now Gujarat Titans is looking all set, all thanks to Rahul Tewatia.
yes, see, that's the thing. As Abel mentioned, during the heat of the moment or the pressure that actually makes them not reach up to their potential, right? So,
Right.
speaking about it, Shubman Gill's knock. Do you think he's finally up to his potential during this pressure time, and could he possibly break through the season?
Uh, I mean, Shubman Gill is a talent, and there is no two ways about it. Ever since he's broken into the scenes in under 19 World Cup, we all knew, and that World Cup was probably there was a lot of focus on Prithvi Shaw and the fast bowlers as well. But in that kind of that team was probably the golden generation of an under 19. There were a lot of players who were in this IPL in these IPL squads as well. So amongst that, to come out as one of the best batsmen in that team was a great thing in itself. But obviously the transition into the big boys club is difficult, and that's something that Shubman Gill had struggled with, especially in white ball. I think there's a lot of things that have been spoken about him, about his strike rate, about his initial burst. He is not that kind of a player. He's an anchor, and I think those things have gotten into his head, and that's probably why he struggled a lot. But he is now. It looks like he's in a better mental space, and he's seeing the ball and playing the way he does, and that's probably why you see him do better. And I think this is a very good sign for Gujarat Titans. And it could be. Yesterday he missed out by just 4 runs, something that he really deserved. One thing he probably needs to improve is, I think, after the power play, he's finding it difficult to score runs. He's still getting in with two minds when if he has to go for boundaries or if he should rotate the strike. If he can improve that, then you can see Shubman Gill become a complete white ball player.
Right, just talking about Shubman Gill over there, because yesterday his first 82 runs came of 45, 46 balls. But from there on, he struggled to score those last 14 runs. He did not score a boundary after that. And that's somewhere, if the result wouldn't have gone in Gujarat Titans' favor, that possibly could have been one of the reasons why they could have lost as well. You speak about such an innings, you of course, you applaud this kind of knocks. He scores 96 or 59. But on a day where Gujarat Titans would have found themselves on a losing side, you will have to look into that innings because 96 he scored 59 balls, where he was 40, 86, 82 or 42 balls. The last 14 runs came of 17 odd balls without scoring a boundary. That actually put pressure on Hardik Pandya. That also put pressure on Sai Sudarshan as well, where he got out. So I reckon that's where Shubman Gill has to improve. Maybe I don't know if it's because of his long innings he got exhausted, or is it because of possibly any other reason. Maybe he might have felt the pressure of reaching closer to another 100. Last match also, he was very close to 100. He scored 86 in the game against Delhi Capitals. And yet again, he wanted to possibly get that milestone. Once you get the three-figure mark, people remember you for a longer period of time. But now, if you talk about 96, how many of you remember some of the 90s in IPL? Nobody does. But people always remember the hundreds. When you score the 100, all of a sudden people are like, oh, he scored 100. And possibly that could be a reason why he might have slowed down. I don't know. I can't find it. I can't figure out the reason why. But I'm sure this lad has set IPL ablaze so far, and he's got a huge season ahead of him. White ball, and before the IPL, he came out speaking that I want to do well in this IPL so that I can actually fix my spot in the white ball squad of India for the T20 World Cup and also for the One Day World Cup. And I'm sure 2 years, 3 years down the line, he's going to be opening the batting for India alongside probably Prithvi Shaw or probably Rohit Sharma, whoever it is. 2025 Champions Trophy, I see Shubman Gill opening, if not even for 2023 World Cup.
Yes. See, however, there have been several other instances where potential, even if the player's potential is not up to the moment during the match, he have used his sharp thinking abilities. That comes to the intellect moment of yesterday's game.
Absolutely. Jen, you can take that up first up.
I think not much of a, not probably an intellect moment that stood up, but probably an unintellect moment of the day was Oden Smith's overthrow. I think, I don't know, probably it's the pressure of, what he hasn't had the best of IPLs yet. There was a lot of expectations of him, and he probably wanted to be the hero of the moment. If he had gotten Rahul Tewati out, I mean, not considering if Rahul Tewati is in or not, that would have been a huge moment in the game, and that's probably what he went for. But I think at this point in time, he probably shouldn't have done that, and that's probably where they've lost the game. Difficult to say, probably another moment that I felt things could have gone better is if Mayank Agarwal had given the new ball to Kagiso Rabada. Kagiso Rabada came the fourth over when, Gujarat Titans were 33 already on the board, and that is where probably they missed the trick. So, not much of an intellect moment that I found in the game, but these are probably two moments where I felt, where intellect could have been used.
Yeah, for me as well, I felt one of the moments which changed the match was bringing Rashid Khan back into that spell and making sure that he got Liam Livingston and Shah Rukh Khan in that over. You talk about margins in the game. If Liam Livingston would have stayed there in the crease till 19th over, this game would have been a 210, 220, and maybe Gujarat Titans wouldn't have chased it down. But then getting Liam Livingston right there was the intellect moment of the game. And kudos to Hardik Pandya yet again. He has been the captain of the tournament for me so far. He's shown a different angle that he's not just a three-dimensional player. He's a four-dimensional player now. He's been able to bring some important changes, aggressive changes as a captain and as a leader. He's taken the responsibility so well. And I'm sure that going from here on, he's going to be a much better captain as well. He's going to learn. I'm again I'm going to repeat it. Yesterday I repeated in the live as well. A captain will be tested when his team loses. That's one thing which even Rohit Sharma is suffering through. Some of the best captains have gone through it. If his team loses, if his team is three games out on his on a trot, if they lose 3 games in a row, can a captain motivate his team to come back out of it? Can a captain be the motivating factor, take up the responsibility, play one of the best knocks, and drive through the team through those kind of tough phases? So that's why Hardik Pandya will be tested as a leader. He's still early days, but so far so good for him.
Yes. So coming to the next section where we are going to speak about CSK versus SRH. Okay. And I want to know that speaking about the rank they are in currently or the previous matches of CSK, what do you think? How important this match is going to be for CSK to break the shackles?
It's going to be huge. As a CSK fan, it's been difficult to watch them. It's just nothing has gone right for them. We spoke about initially how their bowling looked listless. Last game, their bowling, turned on the heat, and their batting just completely was blown away by Punjab. The same Punjab that yesterday was blown away by Gujarat. So you can see that this is not impossible to go. It was not a huge, very difficult bowling lineup that came against CSK. It was just bad show, and I think CSK is going through what is a reminiscent of the 2020 season, and that's what's putting a lot of fear in the CSK fans as well. We don't want them to fail like they did last time. A lot of changes are required. Obviously, they're missing Deepak Chahar a lot, and Ravindra Jadeja came on record and said that as well. Those we've seen how this year's IPL, a lot of good fast bowlers who can swing the ball early have done the damage. Mohammad Shami's done it. Umesh Yadav is doing it, and I think CSK is missing Deepak Chahar at that point in time. But if I may, I might go out and say that if there's a match that they can win, it is SRH. SRH has been CSK's bunny for over 13 years, 12 years now. I mean, whenever SRH is playing, sorry, SRH is not playing the first season, but they've done well against SRH. So probably this is the best team that they can get their tournament started on. And hopefully we get the 2 points, and from there on we don't look back. But the bowling doing well in the previous game is obviously a huge positive for CSK.
Right. Same things. CSK has got a long way to go, especially in this tournament. It's just 3 games into the tournament, but then it's again up to the leadership qualities of Ravindra Jadeja. Can he motivate these troops to come back out of this and actually, play a defining knock today? I would really want Jadeja to bat number 5 or come up the order, because that's where he's going to set the trend for the team. Also, yeah, he's going to take up the responsibility, come out as a leader, and when CSK is in trouble, go out there and play a blazing knock. And he has potential to do it. He has all the potential to do it. He's a great bowler. He's a great fielder. Probably one of the run-outs can possibly bring the troops together as well. So for CSK, they face different problems if you look at the all 3 games. First game, it was their bowling, you can say. Second game, again, it was the bowling who let them down. Third game, and the bowling came well, the batting let them down. So I would say it's been an iffy start for CSK. That's something which you don't expect from a team like them. They're defending champions of the IPL. It's more like 2020 all over again for them. But when you talk about Deepak Chahar factor as well, how much can a bowler make a difference? It's more than Deepak Chahar for them right now. It's about the entire setup. I think Dhoni leaving out the leadership in the last moment has affected this team. They're now looking for who's going to be that figure who's going to own the dressing room. I still think Ravindra Jadeja hasn't earned the respect in the dressing room as of now yet. If you talk about Dhoni, everybody looks up to Dhoni. All the players in the team before they joined the camp, they were all like, "Oh, I want to play for this particular team. I want to play for this team because Dhoni is there." Now, all of a sudden, Jadeja has to command the respect, right? He's going to be like, "Okay, guys, I am your new captain, and now you are going to play under me." Many people are going to be like, "Okay, is he the captain?" So there are going to be seniors in the team as well who's elder than him. So how is he going to command respect from them? Dhoni had a different method of commanding respect. Dhoni had the respect in the field among everybody. So these factors do come into play. And there is for someone like Jadeja on the field, he's an all-round cricketer. He has to do the bowling, he has to do the batting, and he also feels on those hot spots. He feels in deep mid wicket, he feels in long on. These position from these position to captain is very tough, because you are going to make bowling sense. Are you going to go talk to your bowler from there on? It's very tough, because you have to run all the way 40 yards, 50 yards into the field, talk to your bowler, then run back. It becomes even tougher for a all-rounder like Jadeja. So these factors are affecting CSK right now if you look at their performance. And I really hope today is the day they change things around, because you want CSK to do well in the IPL, for the charm in the IPL to get back, and a competition in the IPL to get going as well.
Yes, speaking on that, starting very bad and then making up is a very usual scenario that we see in the IPL, especially teams and players. So, how do you think can Raj finally get back to scoring runs? Because as we know, his starting was not that great to be marked off or talked about. So, can he make it up?
Jeremy, you can take it.
I think in terms of, I mean, CSK is the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this is they probably have to pull out a Mumbai. That's pretty much what it is. It's not impossible in IPL to come back. We've seen that time and time again. Last year it was Kolkata Knight Riders who did it exceptionally well. We did not give them a chance in the finals, and here there they were, in the finals, pretty much looking like a team that they weren't in the first half of the IPL. And CSK has that capacity. Someone like an MS Dhoni is still there in the dressing room. Obviously, he's taken a step back, and as Abel rightly mentioned, CSK and Dhoni are two names which are so analogous to each other. You don't take one without the other. And for 12 years, when someone commands that kind of respect, it is not easy to transition. And someone like Jadeja has never been a leadership, has never played a leadership role in any team before. And this is something that where he has to come out and own the team. The team has to, because in cricket, captain plays that kind of role. The players play for the captain, like how we say in football,
Absolutely.
players play for the manager. So in
Yeah.
this case, now Jadeja has to come out and show that he is a leader. I think somewhere, someplace, maybe we don't know what's happening in the dressing room, but it seems someplace, somewhere, Dhoni's influence is still overpowering Jadeja's, and that is where probably Jadeja has to step up. This is not easy for Jadeja as well, because it's not Faf du Plessis who's done it before on an international stage. It's much more easier for Faf, for example, what he's doing in RCB, when we'll discuss about it in further conversation. But this is Jadeja. It's probably not going to be that easy. But this is CSK, and CSK fans still expect CSK to come into the finals every season, let alone playoffs. And things are looking very bleak for them now.
Yeah, speaking, actually, yes, I agree to what Jaren and Abel told because, in fact, the teammates might be in a confusion whom they might be answerable to if things go bad. Is it to Jadeja or
Absolutely.
to Dhoni? And even Dhoni himself might be in a confusion and vice versa. That confusion can lead to maybe a very good factor because currently, today's match, as we know, they are playing with, as Jaren told, their bunny or, they are being used to this and they might be taking this a bit lightly or so. Talking about that, SRH can find a mojo. Their batting order is very poor setup so far. So this match, can they overcome it or can they show something that can actually put CSK in a very tough situation?
Absolutely. I think this is the match for SRH as well because they lost two matches in a row right now. They're in a similar position like CSK. But if you look at SRH's last season, they had a very poor 2021 season where they sacked David Warner. They brought in a new captain in the likes of Kane Williams and they retained him. And alongside him, they retained Abdul Samad and Umran Malik, who is yet to deliver in an IPL as well. So the management is under pressure. And also the coaching staff and the team management will be feeling the pressure right now because the two retained players, the three retained players haven't yet delivered and they've spent big bucks on all these lads. So the moment the core doesn't deliver, the team also fails, right? So that's what's happening with SRH right now. And talking about their batting order, as you rightly mentioned, they are still in a confusion as to whether Kane Williamson should bat up top the order or whether he should bat at number three. And they're still in a confusion as to whether Abhishek Sharma should open the batting or whether he should bat lower down the order. What will be the best for him? If you talk about someone like Washington Sundar, who's in the lineup, who has done so well in the TNPL, opening the batting, I would rather have him opening the batting over Abhishek Sharma. He's done well for Punjab, but not, Punjab inside Mustaq Ali Trophy against services, against Railways, against Chandigarh. These teams do not really test a batsman. But if you talk about TNPL, I think the pressure is different in TNPL compared to a Syed Mustaq Ali Trophy game. And Washington Sundar has done it quite well. And he's also a test batsman who has done well in overseas conditions against top quality bowling attacks. So that this lad can actually play. If you give him that freedom to go up front and express himself, he can possibly give them the start what they actually need. And that's where you would want to use Washington Sundar in a different way and bring Abhishek Sharma a little more lower down the order. Other than that, talking about the batting order, um, same thing. I would repeat again when it comes to Kane Williamson. He has to actually settle down where he has to bat. If he is going to open the batting, let it be. If Rahul Tripathi has to open the batting instead of him, that should be made clear right now. It's too late already to find a starting 11 and find a perfect combination because this IPL is such a competition where you have 10 teams. the more time you take to think, other teams will get away with the points, and then it's a catch-up game. Then you have to also expect other teams to lose. Then you have to expect other results to go your way. Then it's always going to be tough and an uphill task for you to actually make it to the playoffs.
Yes, speaking on that, as Abel correctly mentioned about Washington, how big a factor is not to have a striker spinner alongside Washington in this match, which is very crucial for them at this moment.
Um, I am sorry, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat the question again?
Yes, 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 sure. How big a factor is not to have a strike spinner alongside Washington in this very crucial match?
I think that's huge. If you look at Washington Sundar's previous IPLs, the reason why he's done well is because Chahal was on the other end. Washington Sundar isn't the player who isn't the spinner who's going to get wickets regularly. He needs someone like Chahal on the other end, where maybe if Washington Sundar can exert that pressure, the batsmen are going after someone like Chahal, and that's where Washington Sundar is good at. He's good at restricting the batsman. He's a spinner who's a little bit more defensive in nature, and that is probably why here in Sunrisers trying to use him to get wickets is not working. Otherwise, also what Chahal did was the fact that Chahal had that kind of had that kind of aura around him where batsmen were reluctant to go after him, so batsmen went after Sundar. That isn't also happening as much. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Sundar. The whole focus point being on Sundar is the issue. They're missing Rashid Khan a lot, Sunrisers, and I mean I don't know what went in the background, but if they could and if they had retained Rashid Khan, things would have looked much more different for them in the bowling. Because in the previous seasons as well, Sunrisers has not had a very great batting lineup. I mean, in fact, this is probably a better batting lineup than what they are used to in the previous IPLs. So they have kind of also what they've done this auction is they probably also lost out on their bowling. And two things that I also had question is one is why didn't they try and retain someone like a Jason Holder? Jason Holder was
Yeah.
really good in the previous season. He is doing really well. Probably they underrated him, and that is very surprising given the fact that before Jason Holder came in, that Sunrisers team looked listless, and even in the previous season, so he was the only one who looked good in their lineup. One of the only stars of their last year's season. So why didn't they retain him? Is a huge question mark. Probably about the question that Abel raised as well. Going into that area as well. I think Aiden Markram doesn't belong in that position. He isn't someone. I'm not saying he can't do it, but he's not going to do it regularly for you. He's much better off opening. Put Kane Williams at number 3. He's done well for you at number 3. Put
Yeah.
him there and probably try and bring someone like a Priyam Garg in for Abhishek Sharma. I understand that you've retained Abhishek Sharma, you've given him the confidence. But if he isn't doing as much, he's not looking like himself, and probably try and invest him for the future, but try and bring Priyam Garg into the middle part of
Mm.
your batting lineup and put Aiden Markram and Rahul Tripathi up there. That is my answer because even Rahul Tripathi is an excellent opener.
Right.
Even for Kolkata last time around, maybe he played in the middle order sometimes, but that shuffling does not help a batsman. It doesn't put him at rest. It's not easy when you don't know your role going into the team. And this team looks like no one is aware of what their role is and what they should be doing. And I think that's why this team is struggling.
Yes, talking on that, actually, coming up to the next player, that is Sunrisers Hyderabad and Kolkata Knight Riders had a very bidding war for this player because of his promises that he made, saying that, of course, his fans and everything. That is Nicholas Puran. And can he finally deliver well in IPL, meeting up to his promises that he always deliver? Because again, if there is a bidding war between two very good teams, it's because of his what is it promises and his maybe a well played matches previous. So how about that?
Yeah, Nicholas Puran has been one of those players in the IPL who was always promised, always, you are always tempted to go for a player like him because his international record is something which is staggering. If you just keep away his IPL of last year, he went on to play for West Indies and he came to India and absolutely smoked our spinners all across the park. And he's been such a consistent batsman in T20 cricket for West Indies, both in one day cricket and also even in T20 cricket. White ball format has been one of the X factor players for West Indies. But if you talk about Nicholas Puran in IPL, he's just not been able to find his feet over here. I can't really find the reason why. Possibly it's the pressure of the price tag. Possibly it's the pressure of the IPL. It could be different reasons. Now they've bought him for close to 10 crores, if I'm not wrong.
10
Uh,
crore, yes.
yeah, they bought him for 10 crores, and 10 crores is not a small amount. So you talk about an IPL, right? Whenever you buy a player for such an amount, he actually feels the pressure. If you're not giving him the security, saying that, see, Nicholas, we are going to give you the 15 matches or 14 matches or whatever it is. You have to go out there and express yourself. Just play your game. Do not get into a shell. Just be the player you are. And we bought you for a particular reason. He's keeping the wickets for them. That's definitely great. And also, we bought you that there is a left-hand option in the middle who can go out there and take the ballers down. And that's a promise. That's a potential which this guy has. But he's not delivered in the IPL. That's something which we have to figure out. Why is that? It possibly could be the price tag, but now is the moment for him. It's a big game. SRH are under pressure. He's one of the senior statesmen in the team as well. If you look at the team across the team, I reckon he could be a vice captain candidate as well, alongside Bhuvneshwar Kumar or alongside anybody. So, talking about that, now it's a time for Nicholas Puran to deliver well for his team, and he's also captain West Indies. So he knows he has a maturity. He knows the pressure. He understands the situation. He reads the game better than anybody as well. So he has to go out there and say that I'm going to take the responsibility to deliver in this game. I want to play myself in, and I want to just play the kind of play the kind of knocks which I play for West Indies as well. So it's a weird case when it comes to Nicholas Puran, but I hope this is a season he makes a breakthrough as well. As we spoke about Shubman Gill, this lad has got tremendous potential as well to deliver an IPL. The moment he starts delivering alongside Markram and alongside Kane Williamson, this team all of a sudden becomes a strong, strong setup. But then again, talking about the strike spinner conundrum, they really need a strike spinner to support Washington Sundar. You're talking about Shreyas Gopal, who doesn't even make Karnataka's playing 11 when it comes to Syed Mustaq Ali Trophy. Is he your strike spinner? Definitely no. Shreyas Gopal 3 years ago, he was a definitely good spinner. But now, if you talk about Shreyas Gopal, he's come leaps and it's not been good for him at all. So that's where Sunrisers will struggle. Same case with CSK as well. This is probably one of the only season where CSK do not have a strike spinner as well. So two teams who are on level playing path are going to be up against each other. And finally, we're going to have one team winning. So there is no other option. Unless rain comes, one team has to win today. And so CSK and SRH will finally get off the mark.
Yes. So speaking on the players, do you think that an impact player to watch out for in today's match? Yes, Derek.
Um,
Yeah, don't hesitate. It's okay.
yeah.
It's your team. So
I mean, it's going to be difficult to say. Very tough one, because we've not had a lot of players who are performing in both these teams, and that's probably the reason why they're stuck here. But for me, I think out and out, Rituraj Gaikwad, uh, it's probably his day. He's had it. He has it coming. We as fans of CSK require it. We demand of him to do well, and CSK has shown faith in him. He's been replaced. He's been retained ahead of a lot of players like someone like a Deepak Chahar. Someone like Faf du Plessis, whom we are actually missing a lot this year. So when you are retained ahead of these players in CSK, a team which was reluctant to play in your first year, because CSK is not a team which generally depends on the youth. CSK is called the team, the daddy's army for a reason. But the fact that they're trying to change that, they've put faith in you. I think Ruturaj Gaikwad's time to shine now, and he has the capacity, he has the capability to just unleash himself. And if he plays, you know that this match is going to be colored yellow.
Yeah, we have an
yes.
update coming in. I think it's SRH has won the toss. They're going to be bowling first. CSK has got a change. They've got Mahesh Tikshana, the bowler, the mystery spinner from Sri Lanka. And we were
That's
just
huge.
talking about a spinner,
That's
and they've
huge.
finally brought in a strike spinner for CSK. I think whatever we speak in this particular show, right, it just goes against it. Whatever we say, the antithetic of that happens, and that's exactly what happened. So Mahesh Tikshana is in the 11. And talking about SRH, they made a big change. They have dropped Romario Shepherd, they bought in Marco Jansen, and also they bought in Shashank
Finally.
Singh. So it's interesting that they've gone with this lineup, and it's going to be an interesting match, I think, because of the setup they've had so far.
No, it's
Yes.
about time that they brought Marco Jansen in. They need a little bit more spice in their bowling lineup, and that's probably what he can bring.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking on which, again, we are going to have another exciting match today. That is Mumbai Indians versus RCB. So that is also something we have a very, very energetic, just like CSK fan, RCB fan here. So speaking on which, Rohit Sharma, the captain himself, is having a big time pressure. and that we can see through his previous matches, and how even a person, a one time first time cricket watching person, can see and feel the pressure that he was having while batting. So what do you think, as a captain especially, if he is in this position, what about his teammates, Abel?
Absolutely, Naima, because if you talk about Rohit Sharma, this is the first ever time I think since he took over Mumbai Indians that he's been put under this kind of pressure. You talk about 2014, you talk about 2015, they got off to a bad start, but then they had the ballers to back it up. You had a Malinga, you had a Mitchell Johnson, when you have, and McLean again, these lads were always there. You had a Krunal Pandya, Hardik Pandya. So these lads are always there to, get, he always knew that he had the team. But maybe for the first time ever, he might be feeling that he doesn't have the team to get over the line. Now he's looking around the players, saying that who's going to give me that 4 overs? Is it only I have Bumrah for sure? He's going to ball my four overs. But what about others? Who am I going to look into? He's definitely looking around. So the first time I'm seeing Rohit Sharma look around the field and be like, I do not have options to ball. I'm really struggling to find a baller to actually finish the quota of 20 overs. So that's first time for Rohit Sharma to go under this, and this also tests a captain, right? You always talk about Mumbai Indians being such a good team, such a good team. They always had the team. They always had the team. Let it be Kyron Pollard captaining this team or Rohit Sharma captaining this team. They always had the team to do well. The real test comes when they do not have the team. Can he build a team from here on? Mumbai Indians is known to do that. They've done it previously. They've come back out of the ruins to build one of the greatest IPL teams of all time as well. So they have the talent now. They have someone like Tilak Verma in the squad. They have Deval Brewis, who promises to be one of the next big thing in IPL. They have then who else do they have? They have Sanjay Yadav, who might possibly make his debut today. And they've got all the potential players in their lineup. Now it's about converting them, giving them that assurance that Mumbai Indians always gives, that see, you go out there and play the game you want to play, and we'll absolutely back you. And it'll take time. Maybe this is not the season for them. And if they really make it to the playoffs from here on, it'll surprise me. But I'm saying for two reasons. People are again and again saying that Mumbai Indians will come back. They're known to do this comebacks, but this season is so much more different when you compare them with the season of 2013, 14, 15. They do not have the players. They have relied so much on Jofra Archer, Tim David, who I'm quite surprised, because usually with Mumbai Indians, when they buy a player, they trust him for at least 2 to 3 games. But here, what happened is that he didn't deliver for 2 games, and they've dropped him in the third game. It's so uncanny of Mumbai Indians to do that. So that's another thing which has gone wrong for them this season. And they have paid close to 8 crores for this lad, and they bought Jofra Archer as well. Jofra Archer, they knew that he was not going to come this season. He's only going to come next season. That also you do not know. Now with ECB being very strict on their players when it comes to Test cricket and not going to IPL. Again, they are going back to the old days where they're preserving their Test players to not to go play IPL because of their poor run in Test cricket for England. So they might not send Jofra Archer next year. We don't know what is the injury status. So they have actually taken a gamble in the auction. Let me tell you, Naima, this teams win IPL trophies on the auction table. IPL trophies or the championship sites are built on the auction table. After that, you cannot sit and cry about it because you had an opportunity to go for some good players, but they did not. They stood back, they held back, they bid for some really good youngsters, that's for sure. But when you look at the bowling department, Basil Thampi from Kerala, he is not your second bowler. He cannot be your support bowler to Bumrah. Or neither can Timol Bills be, neither can Daniel Sams be. Daniel Sams is still a bowler who's trying to find a feet in Australian team or even the Australian domestic circuit. So these are some of the major issues which Mumbai Indians are facing. So I don't really. Today's game will be an important game for them to get off the mark. Same like CSK, they haven't got the first point on the table, and they're coming up against the RCB team who's going to have Glenn Maxwell as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go about it.
Yes, I guess Abel has got a lot to talk about that. And how about you, Jaren?
Well, as a CSK fan, I couldn't be happier, and I just wish CSK was not doing that bad. But as a cricket fan, and an IPL fan, it's disheartening to see. Probably the point that Abel raised, I think there's a bit of, the teams that are Mumbai is a bit unsettled right now, and that's probably the reason why you see this much chopping and changing, especially with Tim David. When Tim David was brought in, there was a lot of hype because he has brought that hype about himself, but there's still a lot of question about whether or how much of a suit he is to IPL, because IPL isn't a big bash or isn't a PSL or isn't a Canada T20, for example. This is it's his own beast, and not a lot of players who have done well throughout come here in IPL and perform well, because a lot of pressure when it comes to IPL, and that it's probably the closest a domestic league has ever come to international cricket. So it's not going to be easy for someone like a Tim David as well. It's harsh on him, but I think if they're looking past him, then who's the replacement? And that's probably the issue this Mumbai Indians team is facing. Uh, During the auction table, also we spoke about how Mumbai isn't looking like a team for this season. They're looking like a team which is probably looking, a little bit more far ahead. And we don't even know how much their strategy works because IPL isn't like a Premier League in England, because it's not where if you buy a player, then he is in your control. Next year, when probably in the auction, there are many things that come out in an auction that probably Mumbai Indians does not have in their control. A mega auction, or even an auction where they're supposed to sell a few players out, or they feel like they have to. So in that case, they probably should have focused a little bit more in the present, and that's probably where they're not helping them out as well, because they don't have options now. As he mentioned, whom does he go to, and they're probably struggling there. They need a good fast bowler to back up Bumrah and a good spinner to back up Murugan Ashwin. I think that's where they're missing.
Yes, speaking on that, a very newlywed Maxwell is coming back for RCB. Yes. So maybe he has got a lot of expectations to meet this time. So how big is a boost for RCB in today's match when it is being backed off by Maxwell?
I think
Yeah,
Maxwell's going to do well today. Just one before I let Abel do, because Maxwell just married a lady from Tamil Nadu, and CSK
Yeah.
fan. Probably, I'm hoping she's a CSK fan, somewhat. So in that case, she might spur him on to do well against Mumbai today. You might
and
see him
fail in the
come out,
next match, is it?
huh?
And fail in the next match against CSK, is it?
Hopefully, but he's done well against CSK historically.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, last time around, an Australian who got married and came to the IPL, his scores were 0-0-1-0-0. Because Aaron Finch, who got married, came late to the IPL, and his best man in the wedding was Glenn Maxwell, and he also had a very bad start to the IPL. So I hope that doesn't happen with Maxwell. There is no wedding curse and coming late to the IPL. But then this lad is now a matured cricketer. You know that the role is very well defined in RCB dressing room with him. And when you talk about someone like Maxwell, what he brings in is also leadership qualities, and he also has a respect in the dressing room. All of a sudden, if you watch RCB's videos day in and day out, people are looking up to this lad, and he scored 500 runs last season. That was one of his best ever IPL seasons. And one thing which he spoke time and time again, even after the last season, was that RCB defined my role very clearly, like how Australia does. And that's one thing with Maxwell. You should define his role. You can't be like, oh, be a power hitter this match, next match, come and play an anchor. Cannot do that. He was batting at number 4 ahead of AB de Villiers, and he did really well last season. I think that's exactly what's going to happen this season as well. He's going to bat number 4, and you're going to have probably other batsmen to follow after that. Now you have Dinesh Karthik as well. He's done really well so far. So Maxwell can go out there and express himself. And now RCB has won 3 games without their main players firing. So 2 games without the main players firing. So you still have Virat Kohli, who's due to score runs. You have Faf du Plessis, who's due to score a big one, and you have someone like Maxwell who's coming in as well. So this team is looking all of a sudden really good on the paper.
Yes, speaking on that, Harshal Patel was explaining on how his bowling mantra is very good in red soil pitches. So, do you think that this time also is the pitches really suiting him?
Wow, that's a good one because one thing I'll tell you about Harshal Patel, he was a little skeptical going into the Mumbai pitches because Mumbai pitches, for the ones who do not know, Mumbai has got red soil pitches when it comes to other parts of the country, and it has extra bounce. For the first time, I think it's because of so many matches being played at the same venue, the pitches have gone a little slower and it's reduced. It's all the bounce have also come down. Now this is like a Chennai wicket for Harshal Patel, and Harshal Patel in Chennai against Mumbai Indians, I don't need to say. And Harshal Patel against Mumbai Indians, he has played last season. He played 2 games and he picked up 9 wickets against them, including a 5 wicket haul and a hat trick. Mumbai Indians, be aware of this lad now. So Mumbai Indians have struggled to pick him, and also many batsmen have struggled to pick him. Many people are saying he's a one-season wonder, but he has actually proven critics wrong. And he's also coming in and contributing with a bat. Now he looks like a proper all-round cricketer, and this guy has a very mature head. I've seen him captain Haryana. He opens the batting for them, and he's someone who thinks a lot about the game as well. He's someone who's a very sharp thinker of the game, so that helps. He's modified his game according to the pitches. So it's a great side for Indian cricket, I would say, more than for RCB.
Yes, speaking on with DK, who is also known as a better finisher or not, the debate is still going on that side. So, how do you think how big impact is he gonna have today in today's match? Like how big it's going to be for him?
I think over the years, RCB's probably lacked one thing. It's been this finisher who could do it time and time again. They've always had the likes of Chris Gale, ABD, and Virat Kohli, and a lot of other players who could give them off to a good start, but they've always struggled in finishing games off. This is where exactly Dinesh Karthik comes in as a final piece in the puzzle, because now he's coming out there. Every match he's coming out, it's all of a sudden he's activating this finisher role of finisher mode of his, and just going berserk. He's doing it every time, and we all know he can do it. One of the greatest moments for India's white ball history has been him finishing it off in Nidahas Trophy. No one can forget that, and especially Bangladeshi fans. If the fact that he is someone who can do it, he's got a calm head on his shoulder, and the fact that RCB has done one good thing that this year, that they have defined the roles perfectly. We spoke about Maxwell earlier, as Abel spoke. They have done the same with Dinesh Karthik. Dinesh Karthik is not going to come to bat until 15 overs have been balled, and that is helping him a lot, because that gives him only this one mode to go at, that is attack. Previous innings, though, he came in a little early, but he again showed his smarts by going after someone like an Ashwin, finishing the game then and there, at least bringing the game in RCB's control. This is why he's become much more mature as a cricketer, I would say. It's not easy to say about someone like Dinesh Karthik. He's always been a good thinker of the game, but now he's putting those skills to test. He's doing that on the field. He's living up to the promise. And Faf isn't wrong when he said that, after MS Dhoni, he's probably the best finisher we have. And I will be really devastated if he doesn't make to the Indian team. I know there's a lot of talk about it. Might be premature to talk about it, but he's looking like someone that the Indian team can really use, given their previous record.
Yes, yes. Abel, what do you think on that?
Right, Jaren absolutely defined what Dinesh Karthik is for RCB right now. If you to talk about over the years, and if you talk about last couple of seasons, especially in 2020, I'll give you an example. RCB used to score 120 consistently at 15 overs, but last 5 overs they used to struggle because they did not have a finisher. Now they had someone called Shivam Dubey is playing currently for Chennai Super Kings, but he was a nemesis. He was a very, very bad player for RCB. I mean, we're going to be very bluntly honest there, because he never could connect the ball. Even Washington Sundar used to be there. Washington Sundar and Shivam Dubey was your 6 and 7. When you have such players who are so inexperienced to finish games off, more often than not, you will struggle. And many pundits before the match, before this IPL, came out saying that Dinesh Karthik is a full-time commentator and a part-time cricketer. I want to say to all of them, please shut your mouth, because you people do not know what is Dinesh Karthik, what is his T20 average. These are the same pundits who went on to say that Sheldon Jackson is an overseas player. So I know
Actually,
who,
I
I'm
think
not
Dinesh
taking the
Karthik has
name.
done the shutting
It
up
is
part.
those people out there who call themselves one of the biggest pundits of the game, who do not know anything about cricket, sits there and says Sheldon Jackson is an overseas player, calls Dinesh Karthik a full-time commentator. For God's sake, understand that he's a cricketer who has won you many games, and you are sitting on a couch and propagating random stuff. I'm being a fan out here, guys. So I'm just being back to whatever I want to talk. So talking about Dinesh Karthik, the finisher, he averages 48 in T20 internationals for India, batting at number 6. How many batsmen averages 48? Not even the greatest. Mahendra Singh Dhoni did it.
Yeah.
Averaged 48 for India in T20 international finishing games off. And he won you the Nidahas Trophy final. He went to Australia and almost finished you a very close game. You dropped him for only reason was that he failed in the 50 over World Cup against New Zealand, batting at number 4, where he should have probably batted number 7 even in that game. And you dropped him out of the squad. I really can't. He's fit. He can keep wickets. He's very agile. And he's a very astute thinker of the game. Now he's probably seeing the game in a different perspective since he has become a broadcaster. So these are things what Dinesh Karthik brings into the fold. And right now, for RCB, one thing which they've always struggled as well was the number 6 position. He's been able to fill it so far, so good. But more than Dinesh Karthik, alongside him, I'll also add Shahbaz Ahmed, who played a very vital knock last match. And he's been doing it really well for RCB for the last couple of seasons as well. He's been able to deliver with the ball and also with the bat. And that's the kind of player you want in your team. Bits and pieces who can deliver with both on all the aspects. And that guy also come to the fore. So all of a sudden you're looking at RCB and be like, okay, now you have a Harshal Patel, Hasaranga batting till 9. You have David Willey who can be a floater, and now you have Hazelwood who will be back in the next game as well. All of a sudden they look like a good side, to be honest. Just I'm being neutral out here.
Yes, speaking on which, since 2019, we can really observe that Rohit Sharma average was about 27 point or 28, and he's one of the third lowest. And the strike rate, on the other hand, is 126.98, which is again the fourth lowest among openers who played at least 20 innings in this period. So,
Yeah.
what is the say on that? Calculations and mathematics, when you put together, what is it?
I mean, Rohit Sharma is the icon of Mumbai Indians. So same way, in the same word that Chennai fans speak of Dhoni, Mumbai
Dhoni.
fans speak of Rohit Sharma. But truth to be told, I think now we never spoke of these averages before, and no one ever focused on Rohit Sharma's performance because of the fact that his team was doing well. His flaw, the flaw that he wasn't doing well, was hidden. But the
Hidden.
Rohit Sharma is now being brought out. This is where Mumbai Indians need him. They need him to attack. They need him to get them off to a start. He hasn't been doing that for quite some time. And these are actually scary numbers. These numbers, if we attribute to someone like, if this was Vijay Shankar, if Ajinkya Rahane, we speak about them in these, like, in this tone, where he isn't scoring as much. If you're scoring 120 of, like strike rate is basically what he's scoring of 100 balls. So if Rohit Sharma faces 100 balls, that means he's only scoring 126, 128. I mean, then where is the rest of the team going to do?
Yeah.
In that period in time, the others are going to struggle, definitely, and that is not going to help them. If you're scoring, I mean, that is something that he has to change, and probably he has to increase the strike rate. If he maybe tries to increase the strike rate, there might be a chance. It's not Rohit Sharma. It's not like Rohit Sharma can't hit. Rohit Sharma is the cleanest hitter of white ball cricket. I mean, white ball, and he doesn't even lose his shape when he's
Then
doing
I'm
it.
coming to that question again. I'll also add to that. Do you reckon that is also reflecting in his Indian T20 setup performances? Because if you look at last three T20 World Cups as well, he's not been able to deliver like the potential he has or he does in one day cricket. In one day cricket, there's no doubt. There is no iota of doubt that he's one of the greatest ever to have played white ball cricket. But when it comes to T20 format, especially 2014 World Cup, he failed. 2016 World Cup, he failed. Now 2021 World Cup is the latest record I can possibly pull out, saying that he failed in the Pakistan game, he failed in the New Zealand game, and he probably did well in the Afghanistan game. But if you look at it, if you take a large chunk of the data, he has not done well in T20 format as he does well in a 50 over format. Is that because of the starts? Mainly, as Naima pointed out about the strike rate, 120 strike rate is alarming for a player. 120 strike rate is something which you don't expect. And Rohit Sharma, because he won 5 titles, nobody spoke about it. Because he had a Hardik Pandya, he had a Kieron Pollard, he had a Surya Kumar Yadav, he had a Krunal Pandya always around him who used to up the strike rate, up the ante at certain stage in the game. But all of a sudden, you're looking at Mumbai Indians and saying that, see, Rohit Sharma, you have to deliver now. If not, the Mumbai Indians is falling apart.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, taking Abel's question up, yes, it has been an issue. I think we all know he's the kind of player who needs the time. He needs a bit of time to go on. But I think that's probably been the issue in the previous few times. He has had issues when he should go after the bowling. The point, there's always a point when such players are there. When you have an anchor role player, they have this point, this one threshold, where they're set, where they're seeing the ball well. Now they can go after the bowling, they can hit a few shots in the air. That transition is where we're not seeing Rohit Sharma do. We're not seeing Rohit Sharma come to a place where either he's just knocking the ball over and hoping that the non-striker scores, or he's just getting out trying to attack. And that's probably where he's becoming a little bit more reclusive in that manner. Probably if he just comes out of his shell and decides, all right, I am Rohit Sharma. This isn't my first match. This is my first mojo. I can do this, and I just have to go with it. I think it's more of a mental. It's not definitely something that is skill wise. We know Rohit Sharma is probably one of the best white ball players India has ever produced.
Yes, speaking on that, actually, even the Mumbai Indians head coach was also very happy when they were deciding on the order in which Rohit and Ishan was the openers. But I guess now it's no more a happy moment for them, and maybe we can even expect an alteration in the order which they are going to play today. Speaking on the last, matches throughout the matches. So coming to the game prediction, which is one of the most exciting for me as well, because I can make fun of you both after the game. So speaking of which, today's the match have already started and we have, going through it. So what do you think, Abel? Who is
Okay, the
gonna
first match, CSK was
Yes.
SRH.
Yes.
I think now SRH is chasing and they've not been that good in chasing. If CSK scores anything above 175, I'm going to give CSK a win. But if CSK doesn't score, I'm being very safe over here.
You've
Now
been
because
very
depth is part
diplomatic.
of it.
Come on, you have to choose one.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I'm going to be honest. If okay, I'm going to be honest here. Considering CSK is balling, I think SRH will chase it down.
Oh, not bad. I
but
mean,
but 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 Mahesh Tikshana might make a difference.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be interesting to see the lad. Huh? I mean, I'm not. I'm sure many Tamil fans of CSK are not going to be thrilled. Going to be seeing Twitter very closely today. But it's going to be interesting though. Okay, I want CSK to win. So I would say CSK will get to 170, 175, and SRH are going to choke on their own batsmen. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, because SRH, I expect them to choke as well. So that's why.
Yes, even I would go with Jaren, in fact, because speaking on, I'm pretty new to this, but still speaking on the previous, as a very basic person who watched this, maybe speaking on the victories of the past of CSK, we can maybe go and have a edge over CSK. So speaking on which, the second game, which is again Abel, I know what you're gonna say. It's gotta be a very biased opinion here. Mumbai Indians versus RCB, and yeah, I would start with Abel. In fact,
I can't really predict the score. If it was toss was done, I could have done it. But again, we are going to be playing Pune. Last time we saw Pune's wicket batting first. It's a very tricky one. I think the teams chasing have an advantage. So whoever chases will win. So I'll just keep it there.
uh,
That is very cheap, bro. I mean, come
Okay,
on.
RCB will. If RCB bats first, it's just got
Ah, come
185.
on. That's the same. That's the same tone.
Yeah, they're gonna win. They're gonna win. That's it. And if
Remove
they're
the
chasing any, if RCB is gonna balls first, RCB is gonna win anyway. But if batting first, RCB has to score 185.
And I think I would say, given that Virat Kohli is no more the captain, they might just win the toss. You never know. But if, like, I'm not gonna put an if here. I would say, going by luck, I would say probably this time Rohit Sharma probably wins the toss, and I say Mumbai chase down whatever target that RCB is gonna do, because if Dew comes in and Dew will, Harshal Patel is automatically ineffective. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but his cutters are gonna slip out of his hand much more.
But
This
wait,
has
this match is happening
probability.
in Pune, so dew will not affect as much as a game in Mumbai. So that's also to
True,
be considered. And Pune
true,
is only
true.
ground where two teams have defended quite successfully as well. So these factors need to be considered. Except for Daniel Sands, even that game Mumbai had it in their hands.
yeah,
Um,
and I guess I would go for Mumbai Indians because considering their last and maybe a lesson for them, they might be a bit cautious this time, especially with a very good team again. Before, because last time it was not like that, and maybe because of their confidence or something, somewhere they have lacked. But this time it's a very good opponent, considering Virat Kohli on the other side. So I guess this time Mumbai Indians is gonna get this, and maybe our friend Mohan will be praying very hard for this also. Yes. So speaking on which, it was so interesting to know about the updates and the predictions, and let's see if all this will come on the pace with all of our these things. So thank you so much for joining, and yes,
Nano, I
let's
think there's one question there. Let's just take
yeah
that before we end the show.
yeah sure sure.
Even if you could just highlight
Uh,
it.
This is the one.
Um, I think answering this question, no, I mean, Sundar is a very good off spinner, but CSK is probably one of the best players of spin as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Someone like a Sundar is also someone who darts the ball in, so it's coming more into you. Um, it's going to be difficult to say. I think Sundar can do well if there's slight, advantage of this. Sundar's a kind of spinner. If there's a little bit of help to the spin for him, suddenly it becomes a very difficult player to get away with. But if it is something that's going to come onto the bat and there's not much of a turn, you might see CSK batsmen do well. That's my take on
Thank you for the question.
it.
Yes. So I guess that's all. Okay. One more thing I forgot. Actually, who do you think is going to impact this game?
I'll
Of
one word I'll just say for CSK game, it's gonna be Robin Uthappa, and for the RCB Mumbai game, I'm gonna go to one player that's gonna be Hasaranga.
and Jaren for RCB, or I guess first initially you told
I
right.
think I'll agree with Vanadu Hasaranga being the player as well. He's done well. Rohit Sharma is on show, and Rohit Sharma doesn't like leg spinners a lot. So I think this is just going to be could be Vanadu Hasaranga's day, and let's hope we haven't jinxed it for him already.
Yes, let's hope that. See, more than CSK and SRH, even I'm so excited to watch Mumbai Indians versus RCB, because that is like something we have a very, because SRH, I don't know any fan of mine or friends who are an SRH fan. CSK, of course, we have Jarin, but Mumbai Indians and RCB, I'm very excited to thrilled off.
We have
So we need
Sanjay, by the way. I mean, who's not on show, unfortunately, Mumbai Indians fan.
ah,
So let's
okay.
hope for his
Yes,
We
yes,
have
sake.
exactly.
Frankie. I have got me, RCB. So it's like a divide, you know. So RCB half
I think
half.
it's a great RCB and Mumbai divide on our show. We
Yeah,
are leading a little
and
bit.
yeah, which is being actually backed up by CSK winning all the trophies. So yeah, so that's all about it. Thank you so much for joining. Do we have Sankey more questions coming up?
No, that's it. We'll end the show. Match is started.
We have to, the match has started, so we have to let
Yes,
people
And
yes,
we'll come
yes.
back with a watch along very soon. Don't worry about that.
know.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining, and finger crossed. Let's hope that whichever team you're supporting just gets up to there. And thank you so
One
much.
of Sanjito Abel has to come out disappointed. So it's going to be interesting.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. Bye.
Bye,
All
bye.
right. Bye, guys. Thank you, John. Thank you so much for joining.